All right, what's going on, guys? Boy TG, welcome back to another video. So in this video, I'm going to give out our Stanley Cup playoff predictions. That's right, it is playoff hockey. The regular season's in the books. The postseason is here. So we're going to give out our predictions. We got all 16 playoff brackets set. So without further ado, let's get this rolling. So first off, we got the Dallas Stars taking on the Vegas Golden Knights in round one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And this came to be after the Golden Knights lost 4-1 at home yesterday to the Anaheim Ducks. So therefore, they'll be playing the LA Kings and not the LA Kings, Dallas Stars in round one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, it's no surprise here that these two teams are scoring off against each other. You want to know why? Because these two teams have faced each other before in the Stanley Cup playoffs. One of them, most recently, being last year in the 2023 Western Conference Final, where the Golden Knights went all the way to the Stanley Cup Final, winning their first ever Stanley Cup. These two teams squared off then. And then in 2020, in the Western Conference Final in the bubble, where COVID started happening, they faced off then. So the Dallas Stars took the series in 2020 in 5 games. The Golden Knights 3 years later take the series in 6 games. So I bet the Dallas Stars, they are looking for revenge against the VGK, and rightfully so. So without further ado, it's time to choose my predictions. So these are very good teams. Don't get me wrong. I like watching both of these teams. But I feel like the Dallas Stars will come away with the win in round one. I do like the VGK, but I feel like Dallas has a little bit of an edge and possibly might take this series against the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, some of you may disagree, and it's okay because everybody has their opinions. But I just feel like the Dallas Stars are the way better team than the Golden Knights. So I think the defending Stanley Cup champions will not be repeating this year. And I feel like, actually, I think some people may have the Golden Knights may not repeat that Stanley Cup championship this year. I mean, if you look back at 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs from last year, Colorado, Seattle, Kraken, we didn't expect them to take out the Avalanche, but they did. And I'm not comparing them to the Dallas Stars because the Dallas Stars are far by the better team. But it just feels like to me, it just feels like maybe Vegas won't repeat this year. But anyway, we are going on. We got the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Winnipeg Jets in round one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, I think in the final game of the regular season between these two teams, the Winnipeg Jets scored 7 goals to shut out the Colorado Avalanche 7-0. And it's playoff hockey. So, the Avalanche, I do like the Avalanche. And the Jets, they're a good team too. They finished second in the Central Division, as you see right here. But I feel like I'm going to take the Colorado Avalanche to come on top with the win right there. So, Avalanche, they'll move on to the second round to face the Dallas Stars. That's my prediction. That's how I feel it will happen. So we got our second round matchup right there. Vancouver Canucks taking on the Nashville Predators. Now, this is the second time in the Stanley Cup playoffs that these two teams have met. Their first meeting was back in 2011 where the Canucks defeated the Predators in 6 games to go on to the Western Conference Final where they would beat the Sharks. They're going to the Stanley Cup Final and lose to the Boston Bruins in 7 games. Now, with that being said, I do like Nashville. They had an 18-game point streak. They were one of the hottest teams in the league then. They clawed their way, and this kind of reminds me of how the Florida Panthers went to the Stanley Cup playoffs last year. So the Florida Panthers, they just got, so close. They did clinch because they went to the Stanley Cup final last year. But they were right there on the money. They took that wild card spot in the Eastern Conference, and they made the playoffs. The Predators are kind of the same way. So it kind of reminded me of that playoff run. I'm not saying the Predators will go all the way to the Stanley Cup final. At least I don't think they will. But they probably are going to put up a fight against the Vancouver Canucks. I see this series possibly going to 7 games because Canucks, they're a good team. Predators, they're resilient. Like, they can't back down. So without further ado, I feel like the Canucks will probably win this series. Now, like I said, I do like Nashville. They're a good team. But I feel like the Canucks just have the edge. I did say if this will go to 7 games, I'm predicting that it will go to 7 games because these are two great teams going at it. But I just feel like the Canucks will come out on top of the win. Fun fact, the Canucks won all 3 of their season series meets. One of them was on Halloween night. The other one was during the Frozen Frenzy, and I'm not sure when the other one was. But the Canucks took all 3 of those meets this season, and they're going to take this series against the Nashville Predators. That's what I'm predicting. Edmonton Oilers, LA Kings. Now, no surprise here because these two teams have met in the Stanley Cup playoffs before in the last 2 years. So in 2023, last year, the Oilers beat the Kings in 7. 2022 Stanley Cup playoffs. What happened? The Edmonton Oilers beat the LA Kings in 7 games. And you know what's going to happen this year? According to what most people are predicting and what I'm about to predict is the Oilers will take this series in 7 games. Now, we do got our first round out the way. So the Dallas Stars VGK, I think I see this as a 6-game series like last year. Avalanche Jets. These are 2 good teams. I think the Avalanche, despite them finishing 3rd in the Central Division and Winnipeg finishing 2nd in the Central Division, I feel like the Avalanche have the edge on this one. So I'm going to say they take it in 5. The Jets the Jets might win at least 1 game. Some people might say Avalanche in 6. I don't know. Everybody has their own opinions, but I feel like the Avalanche will take this in 5. I was going to say, I'm not going to lie, I did think that the Avalanche will possibly sweep the Jets. But I think the Jets might grab one on the Colorado Avalanche. So this series will go to 5 games. Now, Canucks and Predators, I just told you guys, the Canucks taking in 7 games because of the reasons I just said when I talked about the series. The Canucks, they're a great team. The Predators, they're resilient. They're willing to put up a fight. They're willing to make this a series for everybody to watch. So that's going to be in 7 games. And then the Oilers and Kings, you guys know what I'm about to choose. 7 games. It went to 7 games in 2023 and 2022. I feel like it's going to go to 7 games in this series right here. Now moving on to the Eastern Conference. So we got the Battle of Florida. Florida, Tampa. Battle of Florida. Very intriguing. Everybody will probably have their eyes on this series. Now, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they took both of these meets. They're 2-0 in the playoffs against the Florida Panthers. One of them, they beat them in 2022 when they went all the way to the Stanley Cup Final. They lost to the Colorado Avalanche, so they couldn't repeat as 3 straight Stanley Cup champions. And then they took this one in 2021 when they defeated the Canadiens in the Stanley Cup Final. So 2021, 2022, Tampa Bay Lightning took both those series. Now the Panthers, they finished first in the Atlantic. Tampa, they finished as a wild card spot. Now, I know Tampa won the last 2 playoff meetings between the Florida Panthers, but I'm going to have the Florida Panthers winning this series against Tampa. So they're going to get their revenge. They're going to come out with the win, and they're going to have the edge over the Tampa Bay Lightning. Boston Bruins, Toronto Maple Leafs. When I think of this series, I think of history. You want to know why I think of history when I think of this series? Because these 2 teams, same division, they have a little bit of a rivalry, and they met in the playoffs 3 times. The last time these 2 teams squared off against each other in the Stanley Cup playoffs was, of course, in 2019 during the Bruins' run to the Stanley Cup Final, which they will come too short to the St. Louis Blues in 7 games. Now, most of you guys are going to have the Boston Bruins winning this series because of what I just said. History. They met 2019, they met 2018, they met in 2013. Everybody should remember 2013, Game 7 of that first round series. But anyway, most of you guys will have the Boston Bruins winning. A lot of you Leafs fans and maybe some of you will have the Maple Leafs winning after they broke their 19-year curse of losing consecutively in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, I do like Toronto. I feel bad that Austin Matthews did not get to 70 goals this season, but he's going to do so much in the playoffs for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I just know that he is. But with that being said, I don't know. I feel like I know some of you guys are probably going to disagree. But I'm going to hop on the Leafs bandwagon, and I'm going to say that they beat the Bruins. Like, hey, they squared off against Tampa in 2022 Stanley Cup playoffs. They did got lucky. I did say that. They did got lucky that year. They probably might have a little bit of luck this year beating the Bruins in possibly 6 or 7 games. Now, some of you guys, well, most of you guys will probably disagree with what I just put. And I don't blame you if you do. A little bit of me kind of disagrees with that too. Like, some of me says the Maple Leafs will finally beat the Bruins in the playoffs. And then the other part of me says, nah. I think the Bruins will come out with the win. So I'm 50%, guys. I'm 50%. But I'm going to trust the Leafs to get it done in the playoffs against the Boston Bruins. But I'm still in between. So as the playoffs go on, and as the series goes on, I'll probably be thinking, oh man, maybe Boston might win. Maybe Boston might win. Or maybe Toronto will win. But I'm kind of 50% torn. But let me know what you guys think of that down in the comments. I know I'm going to get a lot of chirps for that series, by the way. So it's okay. Capitals, Rangers. Now, these two teams have also squared off in the playoffs. The last playoff meeting between these two teams was in 2015, where Derek Stepan scored the OT game-winning goal in Game 7 for the Rangers to go on to the Eastern Conference Final, where they would lose to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then the Lightning went to the Stanley Cup Final in 2015. They lost to my Chicago Blackhawks in 6 games. But anyway, like I said, they met off in the playoffs twice. 2012, 2015, they're meeting again 9 years later in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, I know how everybody was reacting to the game Tuesday night between Washington and Philly, and then everybody also had their eyes on Detroit and Montreal. Now, yes, the Red Wings missed out on the playoffs, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because I would have loved to see them in the playoffs. Even though I'm a Blackhawks fan, I probably would have loved to see Detroit in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And plus, they would have faced against the Rangers for the original 6 matchup right there. We could have got another original 6 matchup in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but unfortunately, we did not get that. So the Capitals, they made it. They took that final wildcard spot in their 2-1 win against the Philadelphia Flyers. Thanks to T.J. Oshie and Alex Ovechkin. They scored the goals in that game. T.J. Oshie with the game-winning goal. But anyway, we're going to get right into predictions now. Now, the Capitals, Caps fans, you got lucky. You got lucky. You took that final wildcard spot. I know everybody, including myself, was rooting for Detroit to do it. But the Capitals, they somehow got lucky. But with that being said, I'm going to take the New York Rangers to win this series. Now, Hurricanes, Islanders. Now, the Islanders, they were slumping before Patrick Roy came in as head coach of the New York Islanders. They were slumping. They were doing terrible. But when Patrick Roy came in, the Islanders, he turned that team around. They turned it around. And now they're in the playoffs. They clinched 3rd place in the Metropolitan Division. So kudos to Patrick Roy on that, one of the best NHL goalies of all time. Hall of Famer. and he turned his team right on around just like that. Now, with that being said, as much as I love to see a Battle of New York in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm having the Hurricanes taking that series. Just like last year and, of course, in 2019. Now, the Panthers, they'll probably win this series against Tampa in 6 games. I see that going to a 6-game series, if not a 7-game series. Because these are both good teams. Should be a lot of action between these two teams. So, Bruins, Maple Leafs. I know a lot of people are going to be chirping me in the comments for what I just said for this series right here, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. I understand that you guys want to chirp me in the comments for this prediction right here. I know most of you guys had the Bruins winning this series, but I'm going to say the Leafs take it. They're going to take it in 7. They're going to take it in 7. It probably might go in six games, but I'm going to say 7 for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, Rangers, Capitals. Now, if you guys did not see on my Instagram story, I did say that the Rangers will win this series in 5 games. Rangers in 5. Hurricanes, Islanders. Now, I would love to see a Battle of New York in the second round, but I feel like the Hurricanes will just come out on top right there over the New York Islanders. So I'm going to say that they take this series. Now, the Islanders, they surprised me. Hurricanes took this series last year in 6 games, but this year is possibly going to go to 7 games because the Islanders somehow, surprisingly, playoff run. So now we got our second round now. I'm going to lower myself back down here. We got Dallas Stars taking on the Colorado Avalanche. These two teams, they met in the playoffs before in 2020. The Dallas Stars won this series in 7 games. Now, something tells me that Jake Oettinger, he's going to pop off. He's going to deliver the goods for the Dallas Stars in this series. Now, these are 2 great teams. Don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. These are 2 great teams going at it for the second time in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But I'm going to have, I did not mean to pull that up, but we could see who the leading goal scorer is for these 2 teams. Got Nathan McKinnon. He did have 140 points to end the season, so that's supposed to be 140. I didn't mean to pull that up, by the way, but it's a great resource to see who will beat who. But anyway, I have the Dallas Stars taking that series right there against Colorado. Now, Colorado, if they do make it to the second round, they might prove me wrong. They might win the series against the Dallas Stars, but I feel like Dallas will come out on top right there. Canucks, Oilers. So this should be a good series right here. 2 Canadian teams going at it in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but Connor McDavid, he did not play in yesterday's game against Colorado, so I don't know. He should be ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Neither him or Leon Draisaitl played in yesterday's season final regular season game for the Edmonton Oilers. I don't know why. I think Connor McDavid was injured a little bit, but I don't know why Leon Draisaitl didn't play. But anyway, I'm going to have the Canucks winning that series right there. So I'm taking Vancouver. Now, Florida, Toronto. Rematch of last year's second round. Now, Maple Leafs fans, they got lucky that year. They were chanting, "We want Florida. We want Florida. We want Florida." So they were chanting that, and they paid the price. They're going to pay the price again this year if they choose to chant it, because I have the Florida Panthers winning that series. Rangers, Hurricanes. They met in the playoffs before in 2022. Now, we could see Carolina back in the Eastern Conference Final. It will be a 2023 Eastern Conference Final rematch. But I feel like the Rangers, I had the Rangers going to the Stanley Cup final last year, and they got eliminated by the Devils in the first round of Stanley Cup playoffs. I don't want to say that they're going a long playoff run, but they are just such a good team. They are such a good team. And besides, we have the so-called President's Trophy curse, and the last team to win the Stanley Cup and to win the President's Trophy was my Chicago Blackhawks in 2013. I don't know if the Rangers will somehow break the President's Trophy curse, but I'm gonna have them beating the Carolina Hurricanes right there, and I could see this series going to 7 games. So I'm gonna say that they beat them in 7 games right there. So anyway, we got our conference final. We got Dallas, we got Vancouver in the West, we got Florida, we got New York in the East. Now this should be all in all good conference finals for both these sides. I could possibly see this going to 7 games for each. To be honest, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. If this were to happen in real life, Dallas, Vancouver, Florida, New York, I could see this going to a 7 game series for both of these teams. But with that being said, I'm going to have. This is kind of tough, not gonna lie. This is a tough matchup, and some of you guys might disagree with this. I don't blame you. This is so tough. These are all 4 good teams willing to get a crack at the Stanley Cup. I'm going to say, I don't know. This is so tough. This is so tough. Man, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. This is a tough decision, guys. I'm sorry that I'm stalling. This is so tough to choose. Oh boy. Let's see. Both these teams finished first in their. All 4 of these teams finished first in their divisions, by the way. But let's see. I'm going to say this is so tough. I don't know. I literally do not know. But I'm going to say, man, should I choose Dallas or Vancouver? This is a tough decision. I'm going to try say Vancouver will come out with the win over the Stars. I probably might regret myself, but I feel like that's what will happen. Now, Panthers, Rangers, let's see. I just like the Rangers a little bit more. I don't know why. Florida may possibly go back to the Stanley Cup final. Um, let's see. We could take Florida. They'll be in the Stanley Cup finals back-to-back years. And then if we take the Rangers, we get a rematch of the 1994 Stanley Cup final. I'm going to take New York on this one. I'm going to say the Rangers come out with the win. Now, who will be the Stanley Cup champions? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. This is probably the most odd, the most strangest, weird playoff predictions I have ever done. This is so tough because throughout the season, some people were asking me, Ty, who do you think is going to take home the cup this year? And I'm like, I don't know. I honestly do not know. But this was a great NHL season nonetheless. Don't get me wrong. This was a great NHL season, but I didn't really have a Stanley Cup prediction at that time. I'm going to say the New York Rangers win it. And then, so they will finally break that President's Trophy curse, and they will take home the Stanley Cup. So I'm trying to go out of here. So yeah, this is my playoff bracket. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I know I'm going to get a few chirps, and you guys probably, I might get a few chirps. Some of you guys might chirp me for this down in the comments. I can see that happening right now, but this is my playoff predictions. The Rangers will finally break that curse. They will win the Stanley Cup. I know last year I predicted the Rangers will win the Stanley Cup. They got eliminated by the Devils, but I feel like they're a far more better team than they were last year. The 2022 Eastern Conference Final, it was so close to going back to the Stanley Cup Final. Well, going to the Stanley Cup Final in 2022, then the Lightning took them out in 7 games. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of this down in the comments. And yeah, that's going to do it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed this video or hope to enjoy this video, hit it with a like, hit it with a subscribe button. Let me know what you guys think, who's going to win the Stanley Cup this year. And let me know what you guys think of my predictions. Do you like them? Do you dislike them? Do you like some of my predictions? Do you think some of my predictions are accurate? Or do you think most of my predictions are probably wrong? I don't know. I want to get you guys' thoughts on this overall. So hit it with a like, hit it with a subscribe button, share this with your friends. And if you guys have any comments, drop them down below. I can't wait for the Stanley Cup playoffs. It all begins tomorrow. And hope you guys enjoy it. I'm definitely going to enjoy it. This should be a great Stanley Cup playoffs, just like it is every year. And I will see you guys next time.